I'm very happy to be here, and I thank Cxense for the opportunity. I'm from Ringier. Ringier is a Swiss company. We have only 7 million people living there. That's why Ringier also decided to move to different countries to do business. We are also active, for example, in Eastern Europe. We are active in Africa and in Asia. And today I'm going to talk about our core business in Switzerland, which is publishing, and our core media brand, which is Blick. Blick is a tabloid newspaper in Switzerland. We reach about 3 million users each week. We are targeting a market of about 4 million German-speaking Swiss people, and we try to reach those people with our traditional newspapers. We have a Sunday newspaper, we have a weekly newspaper, but we also try to reach them with our digital counterparts of these newspapers, which are obviously websites, but we also have mobile application, tablets, and so forth. And basically, we are trying to shift the old, so to say, media brands from print to digital and try to keep all the audience that we gathered there and use the brands that we have. This is Blick.ch. It's the largest tabloid newspaper in Switzerland. Per month, we generate about almost 1 billion page impressions. Just a few figures: 71 million visits, 4.5 million unique clients. So people tend to have more than one device. That's also one challenge we are facing, that people are actually use our website, use our mobile website with different devices. So we want to find out like who is actually the user. We don't target clients, but we would like to target users, and they use our website around 6 minutes on average per month. Most of our traffic is already mobile. Our newsroom is very much still focusing on working on the desktop site, but most of our traffic currently is already mobile. So for Blick, this is around 60%. For our free evening newspaper, Blick am Abend, it's an evening newspaper which is distributed freely, like 20 minutes. Maybe somebody is familiar with 20 Minuten, 20 minutes. It was a Schibsted idea, and basically this is the competitor of 20 minutes. Blick am Abend has a younger audience and has already around 70% of mobile traffic. And this is why all our efforts are now going towards mobile. And this is our mobile site. It used to be, it was always free. We used to have a paid model for the app, so nobody wanted to download the app. And for a tablet newspaper, we felt in the small Swiss market, it's a better idea to have a free newspaper and to go for a reach model and to monetize using advertising. So what we see is actually that a lot of people are using our mobile browser products, but since they're not so much used to our app, the app usage for Blick, in this case, is still lower. We just started to bring our newest newspaper online. This is Blick am Abend. They only had a print edition. It was targeting younger people. It was also more kind of a softer boulevard. And in December 2013, we decided to bring that online. So we created a website, and we created mobile pages and started that business. And actually, we are targeting a very young audience, and we are doing a lot of social media. So the idea is not to just focus on our website on the home page, but to open the whole field and to distribute our content within the entire social realm. We focus on mobile, so it's a mobile-first strategy. We also started with a new form of advertising. We introduced native advertising. So Blick mainly focuses on display advertising and also like different fields of monetizing in that field, like search and so forth. And Blick am Abend has a new model, which is native advertising, which also touches on new revenues pots within on the customer side, because that typically comes out of communication budgets, not necessarily advertising budgets. Yeah, and we are actually quite happy with the development of that site. So since December 2013, we reached now market position number 7. So number 6 would be Neue Zürcher Zeitung, NZZ, and Blick am Abend is already on position number 7. We reach 1.3 million people in a market of about 4. It has about 1/3 social traffic already. So we're focusing on these new platforms. We just ran a test on distributing news on WhatsApp, for example. We are using Periscope, so we want to try use all those new media forms. The traffic is around 70% mobile already. And the question is, how do we do all this? And this is why maybe just one more word on the advertising side before I come to the other part of the presentation. 70% of the traffic is mobile, and that's why we also try to invest a lot of time in developing new mobile advertising forms to monetize that traffic. And now I actually would like to come to the core part of the presentation. So how do we drive that growth, and how do we want to learn more about the user and so forth? This is actually the data part, and in preparation for this talk I did a Google search on big data, and it has actually been picking off since 2010. I think Cxense was founded in 2010, so you got it just about right. And since then big data has been in everybody's searches, and the topic is getting more and more attention. The problem is everybody kind of talks about it, but nobody really knows what it exactly is, and everybody wants to do it, and this is basically our cut or our view on the topic, how we do it, and I think there's also still some room for improvement. What's also interesting, if you look for journalism, you can see that actually searches for journalism have been going down, and now it's the time where big data and journalism kind of met. So we want to bring those two things, those two topics together, and hopefully both search terms will increase in the future. So we want to do good journalism and use data to do so. So what is our idea? Basically what we started out doing is we were looking back. We were sending a lot of reports that people don't look at, and we were trying to show what has happened in the past. But basically what we want to do in the future is we would like to find out what will happen in the future. So we would like to move towards a model to predict what is actually happening in the future. We would like to know, is a customer, for example, is he getting married? Or does he need a bigger house? Does he need a bigger car? So that would be advertising products that we are looking at and that we are interested in building. And that you can only build if you understand your customer and you gather a lot of information on the customer and you know that he just had a divorce, for example, which is very sad for him, but maybe he needs a smaller apartment, he needs a smaller car, so he's downsizing. So what we want to do is not just look back in the past, but we want to look forward and we want to find out what are you going to do in the future. And we want to use this information to get more insights, not just what has happened, but talk about what will happen in the future. And based on this, create also new opportunities for monetization, because if you know all that about your user, you will eventually have a chance to sell this to your advertiser companies. So it's all about creating new data products and monetizing those. So we are focusing our efforts in analytics and data on 4 pillars or 4 directions. We want to learn more about mobile. So this is a key area which you're focusing on. We also want to find out more about social media. So why did people share our content? What happens in this black box social media? Like what happens on Twitter? What happens on Facebook? Why do people share stories on Facebook? This is all your brand, but we don't really know what is going on there. For us, this is unobservable, and we can't really track it. We started doing that a little bit, but we are still in the beginning of the whole story. And we eventually also want to know, why do people come back at the end of the day? So people share your stories, something happens in between on social media which we don't know, we can't observe it, and then people come back. And we want to understand the whole process in social media. Why do people share? Why do they come back, or why do they find your topics interesting? What happens there on different social media, not just Facebook and Twitter, but maybe also WhatsApp, for example, which a lot of young people are using now in Switzerland. And why do they come back to your website? And how can we use this to drive our business? Another pillar is video. We are heavily investing in our video initiatives. And there it's the same thing. We want to study like why do people use why do people watch our videos? Where do we have to place them? Before, for example, we didn't know, like we compared videos that never have seen the homepage, for example, with videos that were on the top position. So basically you can't do these comparisons because you're comparing not apples with apples, but you're comparing apples and bananas. So we want to kind of find out on which position were different content objects like videos, pictures placed in our content, in the possible positions basically for content, and then find out like why did they perform well, why didn't they perform well, and based on these insights, tell the editors where should they place which content and what time in which channel, for example. So we haven't been thinking a lot in this direction at all. Obviously, we want to use also this information to create new advertising forms. One example is this native advertising, where we are also doing studies like to show advertisers that this actually works, that this makes sense. You can reach your marketing goals by native advertising. And we want to use state-of-the-art analytics tools and data tools, and that's also one goal which we're pursuing. So this is our basic roadmap, and now I want to go a little bit deeper and tell you what exactly we are doing. So basically we are using some big data, which you actually can consider big data, and some small data. And I want to give you some examples what we are doing at the Blick Group. For example, we have real-time dashboards and also dashboards or tools that show us social trends. I'll show some examples later on. We use big data where we have a real-time content moderation tool because as every news site we get a lot of comments every day, and we used to do that by hand. And now we have a tool that is actually helping us to solve that problem. We're just starting with recommendations and personalization. On the big data side and also on the small data side, we're obviously doing reports. We want to be more efficient there. We are doing a lot of stuff in the direction of A/B testing. So we are working with the editorial teams to have A/B tests, like which headlines are performing better, which teasers are performing better. And I can share some experiences there. And we're also doing not just data work, but also traditional consumer research, mainly in the area of supporting sales by giving them studies that help them market to their customers. So let's jump right in what we are doing in those various fields. In the front end, like to visualize our traffic, we rely a lot on traditional, like very easy front-end tools, like for example Chartbeat, which is also used by a lot of publishers. This helps us to get to know like what is happening right now. We don't have to spend a lot of work there. It's very easy. You can see engagement levels, you see social shares and so forth. You also have heat maps, so that works quite well. For example, Blick am Abend is using that on their website. We also have our own tool, it's called Live Monitor. So we have an editor that is actually a programmer, and he programmed that tool himself, and he's also updating it, and this is used for Blick. And there, basically, the editors can see like what are our main competitors are doing, how are the main articles performing on our website. So you can see trending stories, and they also use it for site management, for example. And what we also do, we use Google Analytics for deeper understanding of what has happened in the past. We also use that for our reporting. So this is what we are doing in the real-time and dashboard world. We also have tools that help us identify stories, like on the content side. So we use one tool which is called Geophidia. Geophidia is a tool that helps does geofencing. So you can actually say, when there's a soccer game, for example, you can do geofencing of that soccer game, so the geographic area where the stadium is, and you get all the social media postings within that area. So this helps our sports team to gather new stories. So this is very cheap. You don't need an agency anymore. You just have to have that tool. And one story was one guy posted a photo of somebody who was supposedly naked at that soccer game. So we don't really know, but then you can play that ball back. You can use that on Facebook and ask the audience, did you see that guy? Was he really naked? And so forth. So you have a whole story just get generated out of that geofencing tool. You can also use that for big public events, like Street Parade in Zurich, like for anything you want. We also found a story from Roger Federer, for example. He was doing some quiet practice somewhere remote in Switzerland. He made the mistake to put that on Facebook. So basically we played that back and asked the community, like, where is that tennis court? And actually somebody knew. So I don't know if somebody went there, but this went also quite well. And to discover those stories, we use a tool that is also used by CNN, for example. It's called Data Miner. So it helps us to identify those stories. So these are two tools I can recommend that help us like real-time track the social realm, find out what stories are evolving, and get new stories quickly. We're also using, I already said it, a comment moderation tool. So we get about 100,000 comments each month. And the problem was we used to moderate those comments by hand. So actually somebody had to sit there, read all those comments, classify them, reject them, accept them, write back eventually, but 100,000 comments you can't write back anymore. So what we did, we worked with a team from ETH Zurich. They have a tool which is actually a semantic engine, and they can classify those comments for us. So we have comments that are automatically classified as auto-reject. We have comments that are automatically classified as auto-accept, and in between there is about 1/3 of comments which we have to look at manually. So we considerably were able to reduce the amount of comments which we had to moderate on our website. And how do we do this? Basically, the system has a formalities check. So if you have all capital language, this is kicked out. If you have like URLs, emails, you get rid of that if the language is offensive. And we also have a content check. If this is, for example, discriminatory and so forth, this will be also rejected. And basically what we get is a scoring, we get a spam rating for every comment, and this helps us. This also increases usability, for example, because you as a user, you post your comment, and right away you get a feedback, is the comment approved or not, and then we can keep the conversation going. So this is a real-time tool which helps us to do our job a little bit better and faster. What we're also doing and starting to do is personalizing our user experience. This is where we also start working with Cxense in this area. So basically what the user does, they consume content, and what you eventually want to do is you want to analyze the content and get meta tags on your content, and generate user profiles, and based on these profiles, you can then recommend comments or stories to the user. So this is a field where we see a lot of potential, and we're starting to do that now, because currently our website is dumb. So we have one website to all users, but it would be much more interesting, I think, to find out like what happens if we target our website to certain segments of users, or what happens if we target our website to individual users. So we actually are able to do one-to-one marketing, and we want to explore this field a little bit deeper, what it actually brings us as a result for traffic and monetization. So here are just some ideas which we're discussing currently, like to do recommendations on the front page, on the section pages, and also on the article pages. Another use which we would like to do is to personalize our newsletters. There we have the same problem. Everybody gets the same newsletter, but all the information we collect on the user, let's say you're interested in sports, you're interested in news, you should get the respective newsletter that you're interested in. So that's another field where we would like to explore the area of recommendations and personalization. What we are already doing is targeted advertising, obviously. So we are selling audiences to our advertisers, and you can target those. So you can already purchase those audiences in a targeted network. But we are not only doing this on Blick, but we are also trying to leverage our Ringier network. We also have a lot of websites that are e-commerce or transaction-based website, like AutoScout, for example. So AutoScout is a website where you can purchase a car. So this guy, for example, was looking for a Ford Mustang, and based on this information, we are profiling the user, and we try to find this user again on blick.ch, for example, and try to target this user. So what we are doing more and more is to gather not only information within the individual silos of Ringier, for example, Blick and other publishing websites, but also all the e-commerce sites. And this is kind of a project on a group level where we try to get this data together and to leverage the information, because I think that there's a lot of potential in this area, also for growth. And another field where we are experimenting, basically, because that's what we are essentially doing, trial and error. We are doing A/B testing. We are doing A/B testing in two fields. We're doing content testing together with the editors. Actually, the editors-in-chief, they really like that, so that helps if you want to do something like that. You have to get the boss on board, and if he likes it and he thinks it's fun, then it's very easy to do that. So we're actually working with the editor-in-chief of Blick am Abend, and he has a lot of fun, like experimenting, trying to find out like which headline actually works. So this is a real-time market research tool or a lab, essentially, like from a scientific perspective. So you can actually test like what works. Like, does it work to write like upworthy, like very direct, very, oh, you don't believe what number 4 is? And then click, or is that maybe only a short-term strategy and you actually, your readers think in the long term that's not a good idea. So we're trying to find that out. What we're doing a systematic program with the editors to find out like guidelines. How should you write? Like what photos should you use to optimize clicks on the teaser? So far, on average, we had 20% traffic uplift. To be honest, sometimes it doesn't work, but sometimes it works really well. And for example, here are some winners. Like when we found a difference between headlines, we get winners between like 27% and 85%. So this is what editors really like, you know, if you can show them that. We just did an experiment. We said we want to try A/B testing, give us 3 months, and then we make a decision if you want to use that in the future or not. And this is the result. On average, we were able to increase traffic by 20%. So now what we're doing, we are building A/B testing into our CMS. So basically, the workflow is adapted, and the editor will right away put in like 2 headlines, 2 teasers, pictures, and then the system will decide like which headline performs better, and then the winning variant will be set as a new like default. And this is also interesting because you can find out on your website which story, which teaser works better, and then share the story instead of like sharing the story and then sharing the other story. We want to know like what picture works better and then share that on social media, for example. So this is quite fun, and also we are moving, this is just the content testing part, we are also moving towards the direction of doing more usability testing, like should that button be there or somewhere else, and things like that. So this is just starting, but it's also a lot of fun to do that. All right, just one last word at the end on data and the consumer. I think what we really have to pay attention is that we don't rip off the customer. Like, we want to create opportunities for the user to have an advantage. Like, you get a personalized weather, you get personalized information, you get a personalized newsletter, so you get a better experience, and in exchange we take your data and use that for monetization. I think that's very important, because if it's not this mutual relationship, this would actually eventually backfire on us. Like, Switzerland has a little bit weaker laws than, for example, the European Union, but still we want to keep an eye on that. We don't want that these initiatives fire back on us. So we really want to create opportunities for the user to get something better, and in exchange we take their data. And that's, I think, very important. All right, so to summarize, we use big, small data and use that to drive our content and engagement, eventually our revenues. I think the future will be in personalization, so it's not one big, dumb website, but it will be a one-on-one website eventually. So if somebody likes pictures, you give them a lot of pictures. If somebody likes text, you give them a more texty website. I think that will be the future, so everybody gets what he wants. And in the end, we should always guarantee data security and good data governance, because I believe this will backfire on us if we don't pay attention to the law, obviously, but also to good practices and what the consumer wants. So the easiest thing to think about is just think about what you wouldn't want for yourself. Like, do you want your data everywhere? No, but do you want maybe better information that is targeted to your needs? Then yes. So this is what we are trying to do at Ringier. So I thank you very much for your attention.